So, okay. Yeah. So what we are talking about is range. I said about range data type, and I said range is a range type represents an immutable sequence of numbers and is commonly used for looping a specific number of times when you're using with which loop here for loop, right? I said it is used for generating a sequence of numbers or integers, right? It generate integers in increment order or decrement order. So there are two syntaxes out there. One is range, it followed by stop. And there is a range, it followed by the start, stop, and one more is what? Step. So range object is having three attributes. One is a start. So there's a value called stop, and there is one more value called step. So the start value represents the beginning of the range or starting value of the range, and stop value represent ending value of the range. Stop value is not included. Okay. Stop value is not included within the range, and step value represent difference between the values within the range. So that is nothing but increment value or decrement value. So always you define the step value based on this rule here. If the step is a positive, then start must be less than stop. If the step is negative, the start must be greater than which one? Stop, right? So it is defined like this. And we have seen some examples like how this range can be done here. Okay. Then after that, we have seen how to use this range with the for loop. How to use this range with the for loop. So first 10 even numbers, first 10 odd numbers, finding factorial of number like this. So next we are talking about how to read multiple values in one line. Okay. So most of the technical questions, okay, they ask you to input more than one line, more than one value. They ask you to input more than one value in one line. They ask you to input more than one value in one line. But how can you input more than one value in one line, right? Okay, so for this, yeah, just see here. So how can you read multiple values in one line here? How to read multiple values in one line? So reading multiple values here. So generally input function, you are using input, right? So input function is used, actually input function read one value from keyboard. Input function read how many values from keyboard? Only one value. In one line, it allows you to read how many values? Only one value. So the value input using input function is which type here? String type. So whatever value input using input function is which type here? String. So you can say input function return which value? String value. That is what I said in the beginning. Okay, suppose assume that I'm writing here A equal to input enter any value. So I try to input one value, some 10. So 10 is a value of which type? Integer. But input function return this 10 as which type? String. If you say type of A, now A is the object of which type here? String type. Suppose if I am writing B equal to input enter any value. Suppose if I enter value as a 10, okay, space 20. Means are you giving two values or one value? Actually, you are giving how many values? Two or one value? One value. Because input function read how many values? One value. So here actually this is you try to input how many values? Two values. But it will return these two values into one string. It will return these two values into one string. If I'm saying B, and B is the object of which type again? String. Okay, it is nothing but just like this. N1 equal to 10. Okay, so inside the string there is a 10, right? If I'm writing here N2 equal to within double quotes, I write 10 space it 1D. So within double quotes, whatever you write it is what? String. Inside this string, how many values are there? Two values are there. But is it this complete thing is one value or two values? One value. But inside this, how many values are there? Two values. But actually string is only one value. Okay. So if I print the N1, the value of N1 is 10. The value of N2 is what? 10 only. Now this one value, I want to split it. This one value, this is string, right? This one value, I should split into how many values? Two values. Okay, this one value, I should split into how many values? Two values. To split one value into two values, you are using one function of string. You are using one function of string called split. You are using one function of string. And what is the function of that string here? Split. Split function is there. Using that split function, you can split the string into how many values? Two values or more than one value. So what you do is, the first step is, okay, input more than one value, okay, using input function. But input function return this more than one value as one value. Okay. So input function return, okay, more than one value input as one value. Okay, input function returns more than one value input as what? One value. Then split. Okay, split. Okay, split this value. Split this value. Split. Okay, split this value or input values. Split input values into number of values. Now the splitting is done. Okay, the splitting is done using which method here? Split method. Split method of which one? String. Okay, split input values into number of values. So here it is like this. Split input values into number of values. And the splitting is done using split method of what? String. how this splitting is done using the split method of a string, right? So input more than one value. Okay, input more than one value using input function. An input function returns more than one value. Input has how many values? One value. So split input values into number of values. And the splitting is done using which method? Split method. How you split it? It is like this. For example, okay, assume that I write here A equal to 10 space, 20 space, 30 space. What is that? What? Is it this is one string or is it one? Is it this is one value or four values? One value. This is only one value. Which type of value? String value. And inside this, how many values are there? Four are there. Now this one value, I want to split into how many values? Four values. Then what you do is, you'll say B equal to A dot. So A is nothing but which object? String object. And the string is having one function. So you are accessing the function of string class. And what is the name of the function is split. Now where you want to split it? You have to define which one? Separator. So where you are trying to split it, what is the separator you are using? Where you want to split when where you want to split when there is a space. You are separating or you are splitting at what here? Space. You are separating or you are trying to split at what here? Space. So whenever there is a space, okay, space, right? Now here there is a space. So when there is a space, it will try to split this value. For example, 10. After 10, there is a space. Then it will return 10 as one value, right? After 20, there is a space. It will return 20 as one value. After 30, there is a space. It will return 30 as one value. And then remaining values of 40 is written as one value. So total, how many values are written? Four values. So where you want to split it, you have to define the separator. So what is the separator I used here? Space, because these values are separated with what? Space. If I'm saying print A is one value, but B is one collection. Okay, and B is one collection. And this collection is having how many values? More than one value. This collection is having how many values? More than one value, you can see. So this is called as a lister. Now split is written on lister. And this list is having how many values? Four values. It means one value is split into how many values here? Four values. Now you can use any one as a separator. Within double quotes, I'm writing 10, 20, 30, 40, 50. Now I want to split this into how many values? Five values. Then D equal to C dot is split. Now where you are trying to split it? Comma. Because what is the separator here? Comma. But what is the separator here? Space. Here the separator is a comma and here separator is a space. Then I try to print C value. Then I try to print D value. So D is having how many values here? Five values. So that is a 10, 20, 30, 40 and one more value is what? 50. So one value you are trying to split into how many values? Number of values. So in the same way, some E equal to input. Enter how many values? Three values. But actually you enter one value or three values? Three values, but it written as how many values? One value. Now that you are trying to split it by using E dot, what is this? Split. But you are trying to split it what here? Space. Okay. So print E and print what is that? F. If I run this, okay, enter how many values? Three values. 100 space, 200 space, 300. But input will read three values or one value? One value. That one value you're trying to split into how many values? Three values, right? So this list is having how many values here? 3 values. But all these values are which type here? String. Okay, all these values are which type here? String type. Okay, because if you split the string, then you'll get the strings only, right? If you split the string, you'll get the strings only. Okay, now what you're trying, now this is how you read multiple values using input. How to read multiple values using input. But I want this input values should convert from string to what? Integer. For example, I want to convert the strings. All these are the values of which type here? String type. But I should convert the strings into which type? Integer type. Then how can I convert this strings to what here? Integer. How can I convert the strings to what? Integer. Then you have to use which function? Integer function. Is it integer function converts string to what? Integer. But is it integer function convert more than one integer into a string? No. It will convert only one string into what? Integer. But this is one collection, right? This is a collection, and this is having how many? 3 values. I want to read each value from this string. I want to convert into which type? Integer type. I want to read each time one value from this string. I want to convert this into which type? Integer type. Then for that, you are using one predefined function. And what is that function is? Map. There is one function is there. And what is the name of this function here? Map. So mapping is nothing but applying. Okay, map is a predefined function. So map is a predefined function in Python, right? Map is a predefined function in Python. So this function is used. Okay, this function is used. This function is used to apply. This function is used to apply. Okay, apply a function. Apply a function to more than what? One value. Or you can call it as iterables, or you can call it as which one? Collections. So this function each time, this function each time read one value from collection and apply a given what here? Function. So what is the syntax of this map is? What is the syntax of this map is? Map, and it followed by the function, and it followed by which one? Collection, or it followed by which one? Iterable. Because when you do split, is a split is returning one value or more than one value? More than one value. So actually this is called as what here? List. So this list is having how many values? 3 values. Okay, assume that this is one list, right? And inside this list, how many values are there? 3 values are there. Okay, this is a list. And inside this list, how many values are there? 4 values are there. I want to read each value from this list, and I want to convert into which type? Integer type. Or I want to convert into float type. Then how can I do that conversion? Using map. For example, see here. Okay, for example, yes. For example, there is a string contain 10, 20, and 30. So once I write here b equal to a dot split, I want to split it which one here? Space. Then what is a b now? Now b is nothing but a string. And the string contain, b is nothing but a list which contain how many values here? 3 values. I want to convert each value of this list into what? Integer. Then what I'm doing, I'm saying c equal to map integer comma what? B. So what will happen every time? It will read one value and apply which function? Integer function. Means it will convert this string into what? Integer. And read the next value and apply which function? Integer function. and then return the string into what? Integer type, and read the next value and convert this into integer, and this value is written as what here? That. So each time it is reading one value and converting into which type? Integer type. Because you applied which function? Integer function, right? So now it is written this again as one collection. It will return this again as one collection. Now this is assigned to which variable? C. Is this C is one list or not? Yes. How many values are there in this? 3 values. And these 3 values you can assign it to 3 variables by saying x comma y comma z, x comma y comma z equal to C. Now C is a 1 value or 3 values? 3 values. This is called as unpacking. So 10 is assigned to which variable? X, and 20 is assigned to which variable? Y, and 30 is assigned to which variable? Z. Now can you assign to multiple variables? I can write like this: n1, n2, n3 equal to 10 comma 20 comma 30. This is one collection. Actually 10 comma 20 comma 30 is one collection, and this collection you are reading and you are assigning to how many variables? 3 variables. This is called as actually unpacking. Packing means what here? Grouping. Unpacking means what? Reading or extracting. So this is packed. These 3 values are packed within one list. These 3 values are packed within one list, and this list is assigned to how many variables? 3 variables. And what will happen? Python virtual machine, it will extract these 3 values and assign to how many variables? 3 variables. So if you want to input more than one value using input, what you have to do first? You read or you input more than one value, and then split those values and convert those values by using which function? Map, and assign those values to what? Variables. So these are the steps you have to use it in order to input more than one value, in order to input more than one value using input function. In order to input more than one value using which function? Input function. For example, so why? Because most of the technical, they ask you to input more than one value in one line only. For example, write a program to input. Okay, write a program to find sum of 3 numbers. Okay, suppose asked like this: input 3 values, in what? One line. Input 3 values in what? One line, not in the new line. If you are reading a new line, you can use how many input functions? 3 input functions. Each input function read one value in new line. Okay, but input function read only one value in one line. Okay, that one value you input how many values? 3 values, right? So what do you do it? You simply write. So this is one string, right? S equal to input. S equal to input. Enter how many values? 3 values by separating with a space. Okay, then after entering 3 values, what do you do it? You split this. You split this particular string into how many values? 3 values. Okay, then what I'm saying is some v equal to s dot split. Now this one value is split into how many values? 3 values, and these 3 values are assigned to how many variables? 3 variables. These 3 values are assigned to how many variables? 3 variables. Then result equal to so this one 3 values are assigned to how many variables? 3 variables. But these values are which type? String. But we have to convert the string into what? Integer. Then use which function? Map. So map integer comma what? Values. So whatever values are there inside this list, all those values will be converted to what? Integer, and then assigned to how many variables? 3 variables. Then result equal to a plus b plus c format. Some result is, I just displayed what here? Result, right? So once you run this program, right? So enter how many values here? 3 values. 10 space 20 space 30. Now result is what here? 6. But here how many values are input in one line? 3 values. But input function return these 3 values into one string. Input function return these 3 values. Input function returns these 3 values into one string, and one string you are trying to split into how many values? 3 values. Okay, right. So instead of writing this many number of statements, okay, instead of writing this many number of statements, you can write everything in one statement only. How can you write everything in one statement? A comma B comma C equal to map of integer comma input. Enter what? 3 values. I can write like this. So what will happen? Input function. Using input function, you enter how many values? 3 values. And those 3 values you are converting to what? Integer, and assigning to how many variables? 3 variables. So instead of writing 1, 2, and 3, you can write only which statement? One statement. Instead of writing 1, 2, and 3, you can write in how many statements? One statement. And this input value you have to what? Split it. Because input function return one string, and that string you are trying to split into how many values? Number of values, and each value you are converting to which type? Integer type. And you are assigning to how many variables? 3 variables. So I can say print A comma B comma C. You can write like this also. Now 10, 20, 30. I can write 100, 200, and 300. Is it result is same or not? Yes. So instead of writing 3 statements, see, first we read the value, and then we split the value, and then we map the value, and then we assign it to how many variables? 3 variables. But instead of writing this many number of statements, you can simply write input enter 3 values. Now this will return one string, and this string you are trying to what? Split it. And after splitting this string into a number of values, this map function read each time one value and convert into which type? Integer type. And then assign to how many variables? 3 variables. So you don't require to write this many number of statements. Instead of writing that, you can write only single statement. Okay. So this is how you read multiple values. This is how you read multiple values using one input function. Okay, but see here, Python doesn't provide any separate function for reading multiple values. This logic you have to write it. Some logic you have to write it for reading more than one value. Why? Because I said no, when you're writing some technical exams like CodeChef or Geeks or anything, right? They ask you to input in the question. If you see any question, right, within the question they ask you to input the values in how many lines here? One line only. Okay, they ask you to input the values in one line only, not in multiple lines. Then you should know how to input more than one value in one line. Okay, for example, so this is what yesterday we are talking about. So this is one problem, right? So if you see this problem definition, okay, now this is, I just copy the link of CodeChef here. Now this is a problem definition. Now Chef and Chefina are playing with the dice, and in one turn, both of them roll their dice at once, right? They consider a turn to be a good if the sum of the numbers on their dice is greater than which one? 6. Given that in a particular turn, a Chef and Chefina got X and Y on their respective dice, and find whether turn was good or bad, right? If it is good, when if X plus Y is greater than 6, then it is what here? Good. then you have to say yes, otherwise you should say what? No. The first line of input will contain a single integer. What is that? T. T is nothing but number of test cases. Means you are testing it by giving x and y values how many times? T times. Okay. So each test case contains two space separated integers. And means in each line you are inputting how many values? Two values by separating with what? Space. Okay. X and Y, the numbers, Chef and Chefina got their respective lines. Output format. For each test case, output on a new line, yes, if turn was good and no otherwise. Okay, right. This can be printed in any format. Now see here. How many test cases are there here? 4. Means you have to input X and Y values how many times? 4 times. So first time you input 1 and 4. X, that is Chef and Chefina. Now 1 and 4. 1 plus 4 is what? 5. Is it 5 is greater than 6? No. So the turn is not good. Then 3 plus 4 is a 7. 7 is greater than 6? Yes. Okay, then 4 plus 2 is a 6. 6 is greater than 6? No. And 2 plus 6 is a 8. 8 is greater than 6? Yes. So how to write this code here? Okay. So open the ID. Your ID you have to open. And then you have to write the code in Python 3. So already I've written the code. I just remove this. So first what you have to do, you input what? Number of test cases. What you are trying to input here? Number of test cases. Okay, so this is nothing but number of test cases. So integer of input. So this is nothing but you are trying to input what? Number of test cases. If the value of t is a 4, you have to input x and y values how many times? 4 times, right? Then what you have to do? If the value of t is a 4, then you have to input x and y values how many times? 4 times. Means you have to repeat input how many times? 4 times. Then what will I use? For, okay, for what? Some variable for in some range of t. T is nothing but test cases. Suppose if I say t value is a 4, range of what? 4. 4 means start or stop? Stop. 4 is a stop. Then what is a start? 0. Start is a 0, stop is a 4, and step is a 1. So this range will generate how many values? 4 values. That is 0, 1, and 2, and 3. So what is the first value in the range? 0. Then you have to input how many values? 2 values. That is x value and y value. So x comma y, you have to input in one line or not? Yes. X comma y equal to map of integer comma input. So input value and this input value you try to split into how many values? 2 values. So using input, what you are doing using input? You are reading one string, and that string you are trying to split into how many values? 2 values, and 2 values you are converting each value into which type? Integer, and assigning to how many variables? 2 variables, that is x, and one more is a y. Then after that you have to write if now this is my condition. If x is greater than y, sorry, what is the condition? If x plus y is x plus y is greater than what? 6. X plus y. Okay. If x plus y is greater than 6, you have to print what? Yes. Okay, it is a good move. Otherwise, else you have to say print. You have to say print what is it? No. If x plus y is greater than 6, you are saying yes. Otherwise, you are saying what? No. Right? Then you have to run this code. Okay, run the code here. Right. Now, is it executed successfully or not? Yes. Then after that, you have to submit the code. So it will try to check all the test cases. If all the test cases are passed, you can see all the test cases are passed or not. Yes. Okay, then your code will be what here submitted, right? Okay. So you have to understand first problem statement. First, you have to understand the problem statement. Okay. Problem statement. See, those days are gone. They don't ask you a question directly. They don't ask you a question like write a program to swap two numbers. No. So everything is in the form of which one? Problem definition, input format, as well as what? Output format. Getting on. So until unless you don't write a program, you don't get the job. You have to write one program. Compulsory, you have to write one program. If you want to become a software programmer, you have to write one program. In the exam, you have to write one program to get the job. So this kind of problems, you have to solve it. Getting on. This kind of problems you have to take from different websites. Now this is one. Okay, this is one where we'll see number of example. Don't worry, and we'll try to solve some problems so that you can understand how to crack the interviews, right? How to crack the interviews, right? So this is one statement. Now then, flow 0001 is there. One more problem. Problem definition. See, very simple, right? See here, this is very simple program. Problem statement is it. The task is very simple. Given two integers a and b, write a program to add these two numbers and output it. Now input format is the first line contains an integer t is nothing but total number of test cases. Then flow t lines, follow t lines. Each line contains how many integers? Two integers a and b. For each test case, a and b, and display the sum in the new line. So how it is done here? How many test cases are there? Three test cases. First time you input 1, 2, and the result is what? 3. Second time you input 100 and 200. Result is what? 300. Third time you input 10 and 40. The result is what? 50. How can I input number of values? So you are repeating this how many times? 3 times. Then I should use what? Looping statement. So that looping statement can be either one for that looping statement can be either for that looping statement can be either while. If you want to execute number of times, then use what? For loop. If you want to execute number of times, use which one? For. Otherwise, you can write which one? While. So already I say I written this code in the previous class here. Read the number of test cases. So I read the number of test cases. And for TC means each test case, range of T means what is the T here? Stop or starter? Stop. If the T values are 3, then this range will generate how many values? 3 values. Then for loop is execute how many times? 3 times. And each time you're reading how many values? 3 values. So read integers A and B in one line or in multiple lines? One line. And assign to how many variables? 2 variables. And then A plus B answer. That's it. Very easy. You don't require to write this parenthesis also, right? So now once you run the code, now is it executed? Submit the code. Like this, you have to do some exercise so that I said, In your resume, you can put problem solver badge, which badge you get it. You can put that badge also. Hacker rank, okay, hacker rank, code chef, lead code. All these are different platforms. Okay, all these are different platforms. Okay, right. Yeah, this is how you read it. You have to take one problem, right? You have to take one problem and then you have to solve it. Now flow 001 and age limit. Age limit is there. Okay, age limit. Now chef wants to appear in competitive exam. So chef wants to appear in what? Competitive exam. To take the exam, there are following requirements. What is the minimum age limit is X. What is the minimum age limit? X. It is age should be greater than or equal to what? X. But age should be strictly less than what? Y. So chef's current age is A. Find whether he is currently eligible to take exam or not. So it means the age should be greater than or equal to X and less than which one? Y. If it is greater than or equal to X and less than Y, then chef is eligible for what? Taking which exam? Competitive exam, right? So input format. The first line contains the T is nothing but number of test cases. Then the test case follows. Each test case consists of single line of input containing three integers. What is that? X comma y comma x comma y and a as mentioned in the statement. How many inputs you are giving in each line? Three inputs. X, y and a. X is nothing but what? Minimum age. And y is nothing but what? Maximum age. And a is nothing but chef age. So this a must be greater than or equal to x and less than or equal to what? Y. Then is eligible, right? So for each test case, output yes. If chef is eligible to give the exam, no otherwise. No otherwise. Okay, no otherwise here, right? So how can you do this, right? See here. See here, 5 test cases. Now 21 is a minimum age limit, 34 is a maximum age limit, and chef age is what? 30. So 30 is greater than or equal to 21? Yes. 30 is less than 34? Yes, is eligible. Now 25 and 31. Now what is the minimum age? 25. And what is the maximum age? 31. And what is the chef age? 31. 31 is greater than or equal to 25? Yes. But 31 is less than 31? No. So is not eligible. Strictly less than means it should be less than, but not equal to, right? So 22 and 29 and 25, yes, and 20 and 40 and chef is 15, not eligible. 28 and 29, 28 now is eligible, right? So how you write this code? Very simple again. ID, just select the ID. Okay, see here, simple testing is. So I input what I write in using which statement. I use conditional operator or not? Yes. You can use conditional operator or you can use what? Conditional statement also. So first what you have to do, you have to input test cases, input. But here you should not write any prompt because is it in problem statement is ask you to input the prompt. Anywhere prompt is there? No. Anywhere you'll see enter test cases? No. You have to only input without prompting. Without prompting, you have to input it. Without prompting, you have to input it. Now this is T. And for IN range of how many test cases? These test cases. It means this for loop is executed how many times here? T times. This for loop is executed and this for loop is executed how many times? T times. Right? If T is 4, then for loop is executed how many times? 4 times because the range is generated how many values? 4 values. You have to practice this. Otherwise, you don't remember. You have to practice. Okay, please try to practice. Yeah, default value of that is space. Okay, right. So number of test cases. Now here you have to input how many values? Three values, x comma y comma a. So map integer comma input dot which one? Split. If you don't give the separator, suppose I'm not giving a separator way to split, then what is the default separator it uses? Space only. Then you have to check the condition. If a is greater than or equal to what? X, and a is less than which one here? Y, then you'll say is eligible for competitive exam, otherwise is not eligible for competitive exam. Is eligible for competitive exam, otherwise is not eligible for competitive exam, right? Yes. Then what do you do it? Submit the code, run. Okay, right? Yes. That's all. Okay, now this is how you need to practice. You'll say no, practice. What to practice means so many problems are there. For practicing, there is a lot of problems are there. You have a time, you have to practice. Okay, see, lot of problems are there. See here. How many problems I have taken from CodeChef here? 3 problems. Like this, I can take all the problems. I don't have any problem, right? But you have to do, even you have to do, right? You have to do some tax saving is there. Tax saving. Yes. Now again, tax saving also belongs to the same thing. So see here, now in Chefland, everyone who earns strictly more than Y rupees per year now has to pay a tax to a chef. Okay, right? Now in that case, you don't assign it. If you don't know how many values are there, you don't assign. You take as one collection only. Okay. See, if you don't know how many values you input, how can you assign it? You cannot assign it. Then you take as a collection only. Okay. You don't assign it. You take as a collection only. So in Chefland, everyone who earns strictly more than Y rupees per year has to pay tax to whom? Chef. Who earn more than Y rupees per year has to pay tax to the chef here. Okay. Yes. So chef has allowed a special scheme where you can invest any amount of money and claim exemption for it, right? So you have earned, okay, x of x is greater than Y rupees this year. Find the minimum amount of money you have invested so that you don't have to pay what? Tax this year, right? So what you have to do here? The first line of input will contain a single integer. What is that? T is nothing but number of test cases. Now each test case consists of a single line of input consisting two space separated integers x and y. So x is nothing but, what is x here? Now in Chefland, everyone who earns strictly more than Y rupees per year has to pay more than Y rupees per year has to pay tax to what? Chef. So X is nothing but earning amount. Okay. The persons who's working in what? Chefland. And Y is nothing but what? Amount, which should not be exceeded, right? So denoting the amount and earned and the amount above which you will have to pay what? Tax. That is nothing but X is how much amount is earned, and Y is nothing but the amount for which you have to pay the tax, which is more than amount for which you have to pay the tax. See here. Now suppose how many test cases are there here? 4. Now he earned 4 and tax should not suppose what is the y here? So y amount above which you have to pay the tax. Okay, now 4 is what? The amount which is earned. But above 2, you have to pay what here? Tax, right? So is it 4 is greater than 2 or not? Yes. Then what you have to do? You have to pay the tax. But how you are calculating the tax? You are calculating the tax like this. The amount above which you have to pay the tax, since earned 4 rupees, now you need to invest at least how many rupees? 2 rupees. After investing 2 rupees, you will remain with the effective income of how many rupees? 2 rupees, which is not taxed, right? So that is how you are calculating this by using you have earned x of x is greater than y is nothing but how many earnings you have? 4. 4 minus 2 is what? 2. And in this case, now you have earned how much here? 8. Okay, 8. But 8 is greater than 7 here? No. 8 is greater than 7 here? No. So the amount above which you have to pay the tax is okay 7. Since you earned how many rupees? 8. Now you need to invest at least how many rupees here? 1 rupee. The amount above which you will have to pay the tax is 1. Since you have earned how much here? 5 rupees. Now you need to invest at least how many rupees here? 4 rupees. Okay, because one is greater than or less than 5. Less than. So you have to invest. But here you have to pay how much tax here? 2 rupees. You have to so after investing 2 rupees, remaining effective income is what? 2 rupees, which will be not what here? Taxed. But here 7, now 7 is less than 8 or not? Yes. So here you need to invest at least how many rupees here? 1 rupee, right? So the amount above which will have to pay the tax is 1. Since you earned how many? 5. Now you need to invest at least how many rupees here? 4 rupees, right? So the amount above which you will have to pay the tax is 1 because 2 is earnings and tax is what here? 1. Then since you earn 2 rupees, you need to invest at least what? 1 rupee. But how this is calculation? Just come to ID here. Okay, now here you have to write the code. So nothing here greater than, less than. Only two things, greater than and one more is what? Less than. Okay, greater than and less than, you have to use it and then you have to subtract. If it is less than, if it is greater than, now earn greater than which one? Amount. So 4 minus 2 is what? 2. If it is less than, if it is suppose 8 is there, 8 is 4 is greater than 2, 8 is greater than what? 7. Sorry. 8 is greater than 7 and 5 is greater than what? 1, right? Yes. You have to calculate like that. So these are the test cases. Based on that, you have to calculate the output. Okay. Yes. Try these problems. Okay. Try these problems. Try these problems which are there in the code shape. So once you practice it, then finding is very easy, right? So next what we'll do is we'll talk about how to use how to use a looping statement inside a looping statement, and that you call it as which one? Nested looping statements. Now till now we used only one for loop and one while loop. Now you are writing multiple. Now you are writing what here? Multiple. Now that you can call it as which one? Nested looping statements. That is called as a nested looping statements. Nested means within. What is the meaning of nested within? Nested means within. So here nested means within, right? What is a nested here within? Okay. Now using, okay, now using, so defining a looping statement within, okay, looping statement is called which one here? Nested looping statements. So nested means within, right? So defining a looping statement within looping statement is called nested looping statements. This can be nested while, and this can be what here nested for. This nested looping statements are two again. One is a nested while and one more is a nested for here. Nested while and one more is a nested for, right? So nested means within. So nested means within. Within you are writing. You can write a for loop inside a for loop, and you can write a while loop inside a while loop. Why? See, sometimes it is required to repeat. Sometimes it is required to repeat a looping statement number of times. For example, assume that I want to write a program to print 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, I want to write a program to print 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. What do you do it? You'll say for n in range of, for n in range of 1 comma 6. What is 1? Start. What is 6? Stop. 1 is a start, and then 6 is what here? Stop. Then after that, I print the value of which one? N. I want to print this n value in the same line. I want to print this n value in what? Same line. So this range generate how many values? 5 values. What is the first value in the range? 1. And 1 is assigned to what? N. What is the value of n? 1. Then what is the next value in the range? 2. And 2 is assigned to n. And what is the value of n? 2. What is the next value in the range? 3. And 3 is assigned to n. And what is the value of n? 3. What is the next value in the range? 4. And 4 is assigned to n. And what is the value of n? 4. What is the next value in the range? 5. And 5 is assigned to n. And what is the value of n? 5. Now suppose I want this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I want this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 should be repeated. I want it should be repeated 5 times. I want to repeat 5 times. Okay, I want this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 should be repeated how many times? 5 times. Then what I have to do? This logic, see, this logic is printing only 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 or not? Yes. But I want 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 should be printed how many times? 5 times. Means I have to repeat this for loop again how many times? 5 times. Then you write this logic inside. You write this logic inside. Which one? Another loop. For, okay, for some x in, for x in range of, okay, range of, what is that? 5. For x in range of 5. Okay. So this range will generate how many values? 5 values. What is the first value in this range? 0. What is the value of x? 0. Then after that, it will execute this block or not? Yes. This for loop is executed how many times? 5 times. Now it will print 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Then what is the value of range? 1. What is the value of x here? 1. And again print what? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Then what is the next value in the range? 2. Okay. Then again it will print 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. What is the next value in the range? 3. Again it will print 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. What is the next value in the range? 4. Again it will print 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It means if you want to repeat a looping statement again, number of times, If you want to repeat one looping statement again, number of times, then you are writing a looping statement inside what? Looping statement, and that you can call it as nested looping statements. That can be nested while, that can be nested for. That can be nested while or nested for. Okay. So nested means within. Why you are writing a looping statements? To repeat one or more than one statement number of times. Okay, if you want to repeat this for loop again, number of times, this for loop is included inside what? For loop. So how many statements are there in this for loop? Only one statement. What is that statement you have? For. Inside this for, how many statements are there? Only one. How many statements are see here? This for loop. Why this for loop I am using to print values from 1 to 5. This for loop I am using to print values from 1 to what? 5. So range will generate how many values? 5 values. What is the first value in the range? 1. 1 is assigned to n. Printed. What is the second value in the range? 2. 2 is assigned to n and printed. What is the next value in the range? 3. 3 is assigned to n and printed. What is the next value in the range? 4. 4 is assigned to n and printed. What is the next value in the range? 5. 5 is assigned to n and printed. But how many times? How many numbers it is generated? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. But I want this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 should be generated how many times? 10 times. I want to generate this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. How many times? 5 times. Then this for loop should be repeated how many times? 5 times. If it is 10 times, then you have to repeat how many times? 10 times. Right? Suppose, assume that can be anything. Don't think that you have to write while loop inside a while loop and for loop inside a for loop only. But you can write for loop inside a while loop and while loop inside what? For loop also. Nested means any looping statement you can write in any looping statement. So there is no rule like you have to write while loop only inside a while loop. There's no rule like you have to write only for loop inside only for loop. For example, see here, write a program to generate, simple example, tables from 1 to 10. I want to generate the tables. I want to generate the mathematical tables from 1 to 10. All the tables I want to generate from 1 to 10. I have to generate the tables from 1 to 10. What I have to do first? I should generate how many numbers? 10 numbers. And each number I should multiply how many times? 10 times. I should generate 10 numbers. And each number I should multiply how many times? 10 times. How can I generate 10 numbers? How can I generate 10 numbers? For number in a range of 1, 11. What is 1 here? Start. What is 11 here? Stop. Okay, now this will generate how many numbers? 10 numbers, right? So it will generate 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So this many numbers. 8, 9, and what? 10. So what is the first value in the range? 1. This 1 is assigned to which variable? Number. This number I should multiply how many times? After reading a number, I should multiply how many times? 10 times. Then what do you do it? What do you do is inside this loop. Inside the loop, what do you do it? You multiply that number how many times? 10 times. Then I required another loop to multiply what? 10 times. For in range of 1, 11. So outer loop is for reading number, inner loop is for multiplying numbers. Multiplying it. What you are doing? Multiplying some p equal to number into what? I. So what is the value of number here? Value of number is what? 1. After reading number, it will enter into the loop or not? Yes. Inside the loop, again you have one more loop or not? Yes. This loop is executed how many times? 10 times. Means this number is multiplied how many times here? 10 times. Then print what? Format number X symbol IA equal to some P value. It's nothing but product. A simple example. Now, once you run this, now you can see all these are tables, right? Getting on. Now, this is first table. Yes. Now it is printed all the tables from 1 to, it is printed all the tables from 1 to 10. So in this example, this loop is for reading numbers and this loop is for multiplying number. How many times? 10 times, right? In the same way, for example, yeah, it can be anything. It can be nested while, it can be nested for. If you see the syntaxes here, syntax of nested for, syntax of nested while, syntax of nested for, syntax of nested while. So you are writing like this for variable in, what you are writing, iterable. Inside this, again you are writing for variable in iterable or collection. Then you include number of statements. So that can be either one statement or it can be more than one statement. Now this is a syntax of nested while. So while followed by what? While followed by what? Condition. Then inside the while, I'm writing a while and again followed by what here? Condition. Okay. Yes. Then inside this, you include what again? Statements. So there is a statement 1 and statement 2, right? So this is a syntax. Now this you can call it as, this is called as which one? Outer loop. And this is called as a inner loop, right? So for same for nested while also, it's called as an outer loop and there is a inner loop here, right? Yeah, this is an example. You are trying to generate a tables. You are generating tables. You are generating tables from 1 to 10. But here I take the output of 2 tables, but it will generate up to what here? 10 tables, right? Suppose if a question is asked like this. If the question is asked like this, now write a program to generate prime numbers. Generate prime numbers from, okay, some 2 to 20. I want to find all the prime numbers from 2 to what? 20. Okay. So you should generate first what? Numbers. How you generate numbers from 2 to 20? Range. For number in what? Range 2 comma 21. So this for loop generate how many values? 20 values. So what is the first value in the range? 2. What is the value of number? 2. Then you have to find out, is it 2 is a prime number or not? How you find out the prime number? Yesterday we have seen the number which is divisible with 1 and itself. You have to divide this number from 1 to number and count how many times it is divisible. count how many times it is divisible. Now count start from where? 0. So you have to divide number from 1 to number or not? Yes, for that, for I in a range of 1 comma number plus 1. If number mod I double equal to what? 0. 2 mod 1, 2 mod 2. So count equal to count plus 1. Now this logic is which logic? Prime logic. This logic you are repeating how many times? 2 to 20. If outside this, if a count is a 2, then that number is which one? Prime. So it is inside the loop only. See the indentations. See the indentation here, right? So this is inside the loop only, right? So once you run this code, you can see the prime numbers. Now 2, 3, 5, 7, 11, 13, 17, and one more value is 19. So all these are which numbers here? Prime numbers. So write a program to generate prime numbers from 2 to 20. So this for loop is for generating numbers. And after reading each number, you are finding whether that number is a prime number or not. How can you find out? By dividing number from 1 to that number. By dividing that number from 1 to that number, if the number of factors are 2, then it is which number? Prime. So yesterday I said this logic. Okay, but this logic, you are repeating it how many times? 20 times, right? Yes. Nested, you have to understand. Nested means within. If you want to repeat one logic again number of times, if you want to repeat one for loop, again number of times. One loop you want to repeat again number of times. Then you write inside a looping statement. One for loop is there which generate 1 to 5 numbers. I want to repeat this one generation of 1 to 5 again number of times. Then you write that for loop inside for loop. There's a for loop which print ABCD. I want to print ABCD 10 times. One for loop generate ABCD. Then I want to generate ABCD how many times? 10 times. Now that for loop should be repeated 10 times. Then you write that for loop inside another for loop. Yes. Now if you see the, yeah. Now we'll see like some more examples related with this nested for and nested while. I'll try to tell you some examples belongs to patterns, right? And some more examples we'll see, but tomorrow we'll see it, right? So today we'll stop it here and tomorrow we'll continue this, right? Thank you. We'll see tomorrow, right?